Petra, predictions in
Group A, I see Egypt qualifying directly for the World Cup. They've been in really good control of this group. They've shown their attacking flair, that they can score a lot of goals, but they've also shown that they can dig deep in the more difficult, tricky games they've had. So really, good, different quality assets in this Egyptian squad. And for that second place, the other teams are taking a lot of points off each other, so I don't feel like the second place team will be able to accumulate enough points to be one of the 4 best runners up in the 9 groups. That's quite a demanding thing. And that playoff is only for the intercontinental playoff, so still tricky stuff in these African World Cup qualifiers. But what is to note is that Burkina Faso will have a new manager, a native of Burkinabe. So that will be interesting to see, and I'm sure they'll be far more competitive than they've been with their recent foreign managers. But I think it might be a little bit too late, or I don't know if it'll be enough to really compete against Egypt. Group B, this has become a really surprisingly competitive group, and it will be an interesting one to watch. Though I do see Senegal qualifying directly for the World Cup, and then Sudan making it to the playoffs, coming in second. I do feel like Senegal have far more than enough quality to make it over the line in this group and to really get those important results. But for Sudan, wow, Kwesi Appiah has been making this Sudanese team just relish. They're looking like a real, genuine, competitive team in Africa now. They can, be scoring goals, controlling games pretty comfortably, keeping clean sheets. They're a really tough team to beat now. And for DR Congo, they're still in it. They're very much in it for the playoff, but they're struggling for goals, and I think this will be a huge disadvantage for them. Group C, wow, this is a really wide open group. I'm surprised how wide open this group has become, and for me this was the most difficult one to predict actually. But I'm going to go with South Africa to qualify directly for the World Cup. And I say this mainly because they're getting results against what I believe are their direct rivals. And in such a competitive group, this will be key. And they're actually quite a solid team in Africa now. And I think we'll see more competitiveness from South Africa this decade and even the next decade. And for Nigeria, Eric Shell, I do believe, will get Nigeria back to winning ways. I do rate him as a coach, but their start was too awful. And this group is actually very challenging, and I don't know, how much they can, really get that top spot. And for Benin, they've shown their qualities. They've shown they can come back in games. They've really proven they are a serious contender for this group too. But I feel like South Africa's quality is overall better and more squad depth than Benin, and Nigeria's slow start was too slow. And even Rwanda has put in some fixtures and results there. The reason I don't see the second place reaching the playoffs is this group is so competitive. There's a lot of points being taken off each other. So yeah, and I even see South Africa not actually getting so many points compared to other group winners. So just a really competitive group. Group D, this is also quite a competitive group. I do see Angola topping the group, qualifying directly for the World Cup, their first World Cup in 20 years, and then Cameroon reaching the playoffs in that second spot. Yes, Angola has had a slow start to this World Cup qualifiers, but this squad is peaking, and under Gonçalves, he's really got the team gelling well. They have such good chemistry. They're just really on the rise. For Cameroon, it will be very close between Cameroon and Angola for that first, second spot. And Cameroon, they will gather enough points. They, do have that quality to reach the playoffs, to even top the group. But something about Angola, I'm going to go with. And yeah, for Cape Verde, they're kind of in free fall right now. They're really off form. They're just beyond their peak, and there's a lot of aging players in their squad, and I think their time is up. Group E, I see Morocco comfortably qualifying directly for the World Cup. Same as what I've predicted earlier on with these World Cup qualifiers, but some have changed. So do be sure to check out that video and see where I've changed, why I've changed my predictions as well. But for this group, Morocco are not being tested. I think this will be awful preparation for them in the next World Cup, and do not expect, admittedly, Morocco to get to another World Cup semi-finals. Like, this has been poor preparation for them. And for that second spot, a lot of the teams are taking points off each other. I don't see the second place team being able to accumulate enough points to reach the playoff. Group F, I see Cote d'Ivoire qualifying directly for the World Cup and Gabon to reach the playoffs in that second spot. Cote d'Ivoire are in good control of this group. I don't see them having really any major slip-ups. And for Gabon, I guess this is a surprise, but there's something about this Gabon side where they're showing a lot of grit and determination, and what's particular is they're getting results against their direct rivals, and they're able to hold out on important wins, you know, these 3-pointers as well. Therefore, I feel like they will be able to accumulate enough points for the playoffs. Group G, I see Algeria topping the group, qualifying directly for the World Cup. And for that second spot, I feel like the rest of the group is really evenly matched. So we'll see a lot of points being taken off each other, like we've already seen. But that will hinder whoever comes second in that regards, as I don't feel like the second place team will be able to accumulate enough points to be able to reach the playoffs. And you know what? This group has proven a tough test for Algeria, actually. They've been pushed, they've been tested, so it's been okay preparation for them. Group H, I see Tunisia topping the group, qualifying directly for the World Cup. Overall, this is the weakest group this African World Cup qualifies. Even Tunisia as a pot one team, I think, who have been overrated for some time, are really not at it anymore, but they have more quality than the other teams. And the fact that Equatorial Guinea had a 6-point deductions, which, by the way, I think they got really hard done by, I think really opens up for that second spot. And I do see the group being very evenly matched. I see a lot of points being taken off each other with the other teams, though with this group being a very low quality group, the matches seem to be low scoring as well, evenly matched group. I don't see the team that finishes second being able to accumulate enough points for the playoffs. This group, by the way, I do believe is awful preparation for Tunisia in their World Cup campaign, and it's looking like they probably will exit in the group stage of a World Cup again. You can check out my video about Tunisia's World Cup curse, as they can never progress from the group stage, and why that might be sure to check it out. Group I, wow, what an open and competitive group this has turned out to be. It's looking really exciting, and I can see this really coming down to the wire. And for me, this was the second hardest to predict, but I'm going to go with Comoros topping the group, qualifying directly for the World Cup, making their debut in a World Cup, and then Ghana reaching the playoffs in that second spot. Comoros has been such a refreshing team to watch. They just play to their strengths. You know, they're not trying out fancy stuff. They don't mess around, play to their strengths, really thrive on the counter-attack as well, and just look like a good unit, though they have shown they can slip up. So that does open things up in the rest of the group. Ghana, yes, they failed to qualify for the AFCON, which was a massive shock, but they made a decent start to this World Cup qualifiers, actually. They've shown they're still a jammy team, and they can dig deep and get such jammy results, but they've shown they can get results, and especially with the fail of qualifying for the AFCON, I think, you know, this will really spur them on to perform and continue this decent World Cup qualifiers campaign. And Mali, so they've appointed Seyfant, which I think was a really good appointment. He excelled with Gambia, gotten them to their first AFCONs and even to the quarterfinal and that. But I just feel it's a little too late for Mali, and Mali have shown they can lose leads, and this can be really problematic in such an open and competitive group. And I see Mali winning games and improving under Same Fight, but I don't see them overcoming a really informed peaking Comoros or a jammy Ghana. There you have my updated predictions for the 2026 World Cup qualifiers within Africa. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think there'll be any surprises, as there's usually surprises in the AFCON, so maybe in African World Cup qualifiers there'll be surprises too. Who do you think will qualify from Africa for the 2026 World Cup? And as always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.